welcome to back to my channel. I just want to do a quick video today on something that I've been doing, and it's called, I don't know if any of you have heard of something called blackout poetry. Blackout poetry is something I found out about quite recently. It's basically a form of found poetry, now found poetry is similar to found art in general, in the sense that it's all about taking something, borrowing something, if you like, that is already there in the environment, and sort of changing its meaning and playing around with it so that you create new meaning out of something that's already there. So you're not creating something from scratch, you're creating something out of something else. So as I say, blackout poetry is a form of found poetry, and it was actually invented quite recently, I think in America, and I can't remember the name of the person. I did write it down. I can't remember off the top of my head who it was. It was some man, American man, who I think invented it quite recently. And it's kind of similar, a little bit similar to Dada poetry, you know, like, which is kind of quite surreal and sort of plays around with words and things. So it's a little bit similar to that, but different, but similar sort of thing. I guess it's kind of quite postmodern, and it's just really fun. So you're not creating a poem from scratch. What you're doing is you take a text, it could be any text, such as say from a newspaper, a book, anything. Obviously if you're using it from a book, it's got to be a book that you don't mind destroying, say one that you might have otherwise given off to a charity shop or something. It's a good way to upcycle, like, books that you don't have a use for, that you're not that keen on, and like putting them to good use and still getting some value out of them. In actual fact, that's what I did, because I got a book that was really crap, and I didn't know it, because obviously I got it off Amazon and I didn't know it was a load of crap, like, because, you know, that's one of the downsides of getting books off Amazon. Obviously you don't always know. Most of the time when I get books off Amazon, they are as I thought they to be, you know, they are good, but occasionally obviously you do end up getting a book that, you know, you think, oh no, this isn't any good. But you know, it doesn't matter, because you can upcycle books, so you can get value out of them by reusing them in different ways. Like you can even cut them up and use them in collage and things like that. So it's, you know, it's not a complete loss. You can still get something out of it, and that's what I've done. It's good. It's a great way of upcycling books that you don't have any other use for, and that you might otherwise send off to a charity shop. Yeah, so what I did was I used a book. It was actually a book in the, because I was collecting these books, a complete hit. I think, what are they called now? I think it's something like a world history of different foods. Like there's a world history of eggs, there's a world history of cheese and things like that. Some of the books are like really good and informative, but a number of them were rather like boring and didn't really contain much information, or just weren't really very well written. So those ones I'm going to upcycle and use in collage, or for blackout poetry, so I'm still getting use out of them. I'm just using them in a different way to what they were intended. So I'm actually quite glad I've got them now, because like I can use them for this. So it's not like, you know, it's not a complete waste, as it were, because as I say, I can still put them to good use. That's a great thing, as I say, with books. They're very easy to upcycle and use in different ways. So anyway, I did a blackout poem, so I'm just going to read it out to you now, and it's called Obsession. That's what the blackout poem is called. Now what you do in a blackout poem, I'll just explain a bit further, is you select a page from a book or a newspaper, any bit of text, or from a magazine, it doesn't matter what, and you're not reading for meaning. When you're reading the text, the idea is to kind of detach yourself, to divorce yourself from the actual meaning on the page, or what's trying to be conveyed on the page. You're really just trying to scan the page and look for words or phrases that catch your attention and you think, oh, that looks good, and then the idea is that you box it, you draw a box around it to mark it off in pencil because you might want to erase it, you know. And it's not completely arbitrary either. It sounds easy, but it's not, because you have to kind of put some effort and attention into trying to think what words will go well together. What words in this new poem might create some meaning. So it's not completely random when you're selecting your words. You have to sort of think, do they tell a coherent story? What words tell a coherent story in that text, really? You could just use big nouns and adjectives, but you can also use connective words as well. So you could use a, the, but you can include those little words as well. And you can use phrases. So you could use a phrase, or even like a short sentence could be included if you feel that it will go in your poem. There aren't any really hard and fast rules to it as such, but obviously if you use a sentence, it's got to be quite a short sentence. So anyhow, I'll just read mine out. Mine's called Obsession, and it sounds quite kind of what's the word, surreal, I guess, maybe, and a little bit kind of random, but that's the joy of Blackout poetry, is that you kind of put words together and you see what happens. So I'll just read it out to you. Gold leaf, intriguing. Fire nestled in a basket, dipped in water. Bright moon in a limpid sky. Libro Novo, incorporated into an obsession, pierced, boiled, too hot, broken, sprinkled with salt and sugar. So that's my little Blackout poem. It's my first attempt, so I feel quite pleased with myself, as it was a first attempt. And I'm pleased with it. So I called it Obsession because it kind of, I feel like those words to me, when they come together, they create the meaning of what it's like symbolically to have an obsession. So it can be interpreted in different ways. Like gold leaf, it's like something visually appealing to the eyes kind of thing. A gold leaf that might kind of catch your attention, in a very kind of signifying sort of something beautiful, like gold, enticing. And then, as it says again, intriguing, an obsession being on fire kind of thing, hence the word fire. And, you want to sort of cool yourself off. So I like to go sort of water imagery and, being like a bright moon in a limpid sky, in a sort of. And then I just randomly put, I had to include the Libro Novo, which means new book, because obviously, for me, books are, I get very obsessed with books. So it's like Libro Novo incorporated into an obsession, and it's like being, your obsessions can be quite piercing, and again, being like you're too hot, like you're boiling, like your brain's on fire. That's why I put boiled, too hot. And then also I included the last bit, sprinkled with salt and sugar, because I thought an obsession can be like salt, but it can also be like sugar. So it can have, it can have the sort of, the sort of bitterness of salt, but then also like the sweetness of sugar sort of thing. So it's kind of yin and yang. Like it's not all a bad thing. Obsessions can be bit of both sort of thing. So that's kind of why I used those words, and then I decided to call it Obsession because I thought that represented an obsession in kind of poetic language. Like I say, so all I did was I selected words that are already in the text. I coloured. I'll just show you. So that's what it looks like there. It's a little bit of postmodern art. You can see that. Bit of postmodern art. Normally what you do is you you use a permanent marker or like a black pen to black out text that you're not using. But I decided to use collage paper because I think it just thought it looked a bit prettier, so I just stuck collage paper over the text and I just cut it out of the book and I just put it in my scrapbook because I think it looks prettier in there. So yeah, that's what I did. I would like to do some more at some point because I think it's really fun. The other thing that's quite interesting is it also helps you when you're writing other poetry as well, because it actually is good for getting your brain juices running, as it were. Because sometimes, like say if you've got writer's block or something, doing blackout poetry can actually, as you're looking at words and you think, oh, I could use that in another poem, or I could use that idea in another poem, it kind of gets your brain working in that way. Because I mean, it's slightly easier than like writing a poem from scratch, but obviously it still involves brain power because you're having to think what goes together. It's not like easy. It still involves, some thinking, but it's because it's a bit more. It helps you. It helps you connect ideas, I think, and so it can be used in like other ways as well. So yeah, I feel it's really, really fun. So let me know if any of you have tried blackout poetry. If any of you are interested in trying blackout poetry. I'll be interested to know, so thank you for watching.